everyone, and welcome to Analytical Fanboys, the pod that casts and the cast that pods. I am your host, Simeon the Vacuuminator Scott, and I am joined, as always, by the Titanic Boingo Rider. Hello, sir.
Yo, you ready to go?
I'm pretty revved and ready. It's a fucking race anime. We're talking about Redline, baby. I don't know why I did that voice.
I mean, it fits.
Yeah. This is an anime that you put on the list, and it's basically if Wacky Races and Speed Racer were made now.
That'd be an accurate representation, but also like add in a little bit of F-Zero and like that weird era of anime OVAs where everything got really fucking weird in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and fucking what's that anime that Deja Vu comes from?
Initial D.
Yeah, it's a little sprinkle of Initial D in here.
Ah, man. So do you want me to explain what the fuck Redline is?
If you can.
Redline is the intergalactic race to end all races. Every so often, it is chosen on a planet, and select racers get to race it for prize, money, glory, and fame.
And they race in cars? Question mark?
Technically, yeah, it's weird. Basically, we follow our main guy, JP, as he is basically a fixer for races. The Mafia goes like, all right, you're gonna lose so we can make more money in the betting. And he's tired of it. He wants to race. He wants to win. He wants to be the big dog.
He has to break free.
Yep. So, and after his last race, his buddy goes like, all right, cool. We're squared off. We're squared away. And he's like, all right, I'm about to go fuck off and win some races. Be his own man. Then all the reporters come in and go like, hey, because they announced where the next race is going to be, two of the racers dropped out and you're the voted fan favorite. So you going to race? And he just goes like, yeah,
I guess I could.
And
that
so
sounds fun.
So for basically the entire second act, it is just him on the moon of the planet they're about to do the race on, preparing for the race, getting to know the other drivers, and getting into semantics, all before the third act, and it's just a giant fucking race.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say third act, that's like the last hour of the movie.
It is consummate free act structure where you're introduced and the movie tries as hard as it possibly can to hook you. You get really good setup, and then the second act is just world building, like just some of the best possible world building you can do. And then the third act is let's leave a real impression here.
Oh yeah. And we meet a ton of racers. I can't remember. The one that looks like a blue monkey and his crab friend are really great.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of just really solid, great designs, beautiful cars. The animation's top notch.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid little movie. I can't say it's one of the best anime I've ever seen, but it's pretty far up there. It's like lower main event scene, I would say.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that. Like, this is very much an anime for if you are into this kind of anime. If you like the loud, bombastic kind of stuff like Gurren Lagann, or
if you like weird fucking shit, if you like that hardline animation style from like the 80s.
Oh yeah, deep shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Like beautiful character designs. The men are men and the women are fucking voluptuous.
Oh yeah, there's a scene where the main female protagonist is topless for no reason, and for once I wasn't upset. I was like, yeah, that's perfectly understandable. I think everybody wants to see her tits.
Because this also kind of have like some exploitation movie vibes in this whole thing.
Yeah, if it wasn't for all the weird space shit, I could see this being a Tarantino movie.
Yeah. But with all the spaceship, it's a Robert Rodriguez movie.
Yeah.
But like all the cars have unique things, like, but the main character's JP's car doesn't have any weapons. Everyone else has weapons except him.
Yeah, because he's the fucking classic good boy just out to have a nice race.
Oh yeah, and like And it's amazing because they really get across how much he's just focused on speed, because he's driving basically like an old school muscle car. Like in size and proportion, just a muscle car. Everyone else is in these giant spaceships.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Some of the car designs, I should say, you get in this movie, really, really makes me curious as to why there's like no huge merch for this out there. Like, I know there's a couple things, but I'm surprised that like models or like proper toys of these cars aren't available.
Oh yeah, I think that would have happened, but I think this movie didn't make a ton of money in the box office. So
that's I mean, like, I wouldn't say it's understandable, but I can see that because like it's a fucking weird thing to release as a big mainstream movie, even in Japan.
And also, it was being worked on for like 2.5, 3 years, and it had a lot of like if for people who don't know, there's an anime term called sakuga.
Yeah.
Which, for an American animation crowd, it basically means animating on the ones. See, typically in animation, you would animate on the 2s or the 3s, and that basically means you change the animation every other frame, or every frame.
Every third frame.
Or every third frame, or every fourth frame, depending on how many frames you want to cut by.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of drawing 24 individual pictures, you draw 12, or 24 divided by 3, or 24 divided by 4, whatever. That's how many you draw. It may the animation can look a little choppier, but it does save a lot of time and resources.
Mm-hmm.
What sakuga is basically an anime version of on the ones, which means you draw a brand new frame every single frame of animation.
You make the animation quality as close to actual film as possible.
Yeah. And it is gorgeous because even if everybody else is standing still, hair is always fluttering in the wind, dust is always on the ground. It's just
there's scenes where you can see window pane shaking. Like, seriously, not in aesthetics, but in quality of just how much stuff is always happening. This is Ghibli level animation.
Oh, definitely. Like, but in terms of aesthetics, it's very much like sometimes I even hazard to say it's like pure anime, because there's a lot of like American comic book influence in this.
Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, this is the first thing we've had on the show in a hot minute that I would call Boingo Core. It's got such a mood, and it's so perfectly into itself that I was like, oh, of course this is one of Chris's favorite things. Of course he wants me to watch this. This is like, yeah.
But
and that's the thing, is like, if this movie was more of just a thing that exists, I probably wouldn't be as into it. But because it's so clearly in love with everything it's doing, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay.
It just like loves to show off characters. Like, just look at this cyborg. His head's an engine.
Yeah. And I love the sound design and the music in this movie. I've got to go and listen to the score at some point, because like, there's just such little good moments where like a new character will pop up and you'll just hear in the background some singer silent, kind of very softly saying their name in a cool way, and it's like, yeah.
My favorite thing though is like whenever, I can't remember if it was at the beginning or near the beginning of the credits, where you just see Redline appear on screen and you just hear this bombastic woman singer just singing with all her heart out, Redline.
It's pretty close to that.
Yeah, it's just aesthetically like, it's 90s sci-fi, but with like 50s sci-fi kind of mood.
Yeah.
Like, because our main protagonist is straight up rockabilly, pompadour.
He looks like fucking, oh, I forgot his last name, so I'll just say Kamen Rider Force's cooler older brother.
Oh, yeah. Also, like, space dandy, like, just that pompadour, cool, spacey kind of dude.
Yeah, I love how Japan is just still into pompadours. Like, we fucking left that shit in the 50s, but every once in a while, somebody in Japan will just go, remember Pompadours? Those things are fucking badass. I want a character who has a Pompadour.
Oh, yeah. No, it's great. It's just amazing. It's perfect. Like,
and some of the character dynamics, like, we've mostly been talking about aesthetics and general mood here, but the character dynamics in this are great. Like, it's a little slapdash and kind of cliche, but I really dig the main romance. The fucking, the actual team JP has with him, their dynamic is really great, and seeing all the racers.
Honestly, you're not far off, though, too.
Yeah, kind of. All the racers having their little back and forth and bantering about who's going to win and how they're going to win. It's so entertaining. Like I said earlier, this feels like a modern version of Speed Racer. A lot of the dialogue in this did actually remind me of the live action Speed Racer movie, which I'm in that movie is a masterpiece camp.
Oh, ditto. But like, just like talking about JP's crew, you have JP, the racer, the guy who just goes like, I don't care, I just want to win, I just want to go fast. That's all he wants to do. And then you have his old school mechanic buddy who's gotten deep in the mafia, who's having trouble getting out, who's just is a complete cynic. He doesn't care anymore. And then you have the guy whose garage they're renting, and he's basically going like, I don't want either of you to die. Is that okay?
You fucking stupid kids! What are you doing with this shit? That's his whole character.
That engine's gonna ruin this car. Nah, he's got it. Yeah, don't worry, old man, I got it.
What the fuck are you talking about? That's scientifically impossible. This will rip your car to shreds. It's cool. It's cool. We got it.
And then they do, and it's just like, well, all right.
Yep.
Ah, man. And also, like, every car design has, like, a unique, interesting thing about it. Like, there's a spider car.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the one car driven by the woman who turns into a giant mecha woman with rocket boobs.
Yeah, that was crazy. There's the two rich twins who, honestly, I'm sure they're meant to be a direct parody of something, and it's probably not this, but I just could not help but think of the Bella twins.
Okay. Oh, man. Also, like, so many, just all the characters are so great. You can make a 12-episode miniseries out of each and every one of them.
Oh, yeah. Like that's another thing is like I know you just said it earlier it didn't do too well at the box office, so that's a perfectly good explanation. But I could see if this movie had done well, it spriting like a mini franchise, kind of like how Little Witch Academia did around the same time.
Oh yeah. It's a shame that it didn't. Like, this could have definitely led anime in a very interesting, cool direction, but it didn't.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a very ambitious project and it's made for a very specific set of people, and either those people are going to like it enough that they'll make it take off by showing it to other people, or they'll all be like, hey, this is really good, and everyone's just going to be like, okay, glad you like that. So it's kind of sad it went that way, but also I'm just happy that it exists. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, this isn't one of my favorite things, but it's one of those things that I'm glad I've seen now. I'm glad that it's out there and it's adding to the overall substance and texture of the universe. If that's not too artsy-fartsy.
No, that makes sense. But we forgot to mention the giant crux of, other than this race is a very deadly intergalactic race. They're racing on a war-torn, warmongering planet.
They're racing on North Korea,
essentially. And the president, king, emperor of this intergalactic North Korea basically goes, yeah, we don't want them here because their cameras are going to pick up on all of our illegal weapons developments and might possibly wake up our giant nuclear baby.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. And yeah, the nuclear baby wakes up.
And then they have to fight the nuclear baby.
Oh, it's such a beautiful little segment too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, this is just like peak Like, turn up every trope in a sports anime up to 1,000,000 and you're good.
It's probably one of the better anime I've seen in recent times. And I don't watch like current anime or anything like that. I just kind of see whatever is shown to me. So, like, this is just wonderful. I don't know where I was going with that. I like this movie. I'm glad I saw it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad we have at least now. I'm like 2 for 2 with anime you like that I've shown you.
You're 2-1
because you didn't like Beck.
Yeah.
How'd you like Fooly Cooly?
Fooly Cooly was all right. I just wasn't like it didn't do anything for me. I was this is good. It's not something I'll ever think about again.
Yeah. And then I showed you fucking Bakuman.
Bakuman's great.
And this.
Yeah.
But oh man, there's just also like there's so much little world building that is always on the periphery and never quite like focused in on that you just go like, okay, what the fuck was that?
It feels like they had like a whole story Bible and like the director knew everything about this universe already. He just was like, this is the story we're telling in this universe. You know, like what people say Avatar is.
Oh yeah. But like there's other little things, like technically there's a prequel video to this that was animated like 9 years before it, starring the blue chimpanzee chimp dude and his crab friend.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like that they have a little thing. And like I think it was more of like that was planned by itself, and then being in this movie was like a really cool cameo.
Neat.
But also, like, friggity frack, the one dude who was kind of like a common writer, the bounty hunter.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about him. He was fantastic.
There's so many characters that you can completely forget about them.
It's really interesting just how diverse some of the stuff in this movie gets.
And like everybody kind of has a little bit of a storyline and part of them. Like, there's a cop who's chasing after some of the bad guys. One of the guards of the robot planet sees, like, one of his old platoon mates in the race, and he goes, like, you're doing shit, and I'm chasing you. And he just chases him for the entire race.
Yeah, it's...
But eventually, they get to the finish line, and everybody's cars is breaking down except the one dude who's like a car minotaur.
Yeah.
And as they get to the finish line, our main guy, JP, his car breaks down, but he gets over the finish line with his pompadour.
It's beautiful. It's that kind of like just slightly absurd that some people will go, oh, it's too cartoonish. But I find it completely endearing.
Yep. And all the while, like midway through the race, main female character, I can't remember her name right this second.
I can think of it, but I can't pronounce it.
Okay. But basically, her car gets busted. And so JP goes like, hey, you just want to ride with me? Finish the race? And she's like, yeah. So for the rest of the race, because he only has one seat in his car, she's just sitting on his lap.
Yep.
And it's adorable.
Like, I think the one mark I could have against this movie is I think it's a little cheap that they like throw in flashbacks towards the end and reveal that they knew each other in their childhoods and just didn't realize it till now. But also a lot of anime do that, so I can't get too mad at it.
Honestly, when I saw that, it felt more like JP remembered, and he was like, oh, immediately like, oh, I know you. But she didn't, so like he was just going like, yeah, no, I'm trying to romance an old childhood friend. And she's just going like, okay, the new guy, who the fuck are you? That's how I interpreted it, at least.
I don't know if I was paying close enough attention to really have a take on whether she realized it or not.
But they win. They kiss, and the Minotaur dude who was pissed off goes like, I can't be angry at love.
Yeah. It's some good old classic finish.
Oh yeah. This is just solid, great anime action, top notch. Like should go down in the pantheon of just great animation in general, not like just anime. Like it should be up there with like Treasure Planet, any Ghibli film.
This is one of those movies that in like 10 years, people are going to be making videos about, assuming we still can make videos in 10 years, talking about like, hey guys, I discovered this forgotten classic. You've all got to check it out. Like this is going to be one of those. It's going to be like a fucking Jinro the Wolf Brigade or something.
Yeah, it had a great dedicated fan base while it was out, and always spoke high praises of it. And then eventually, one nut job is gonna find it and go like, "Hey, watch this," and it's just gonna blow up.
It'll be a good old day, and we'll be sitting here going, "We did a podcast about that quite a long time ago. You want to watch our video?"
Yeah, but that was podcasts like what 50. Dude, guys, you have like 1,000 of them now.
Yeah, I think we're about on number 60. This is 50 something. I can't remember which one it is.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, we've been doing this for just over a year.
But hey, we missed some weeks, so it's not. We've been doing this at least a year.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But, do we have anything else we need to say about The Line That Is Red?
It is fantastic. You should watch it. I wish it succeeded better so we could have a video game based off of it.
Oh my god, a fucking racing game based off of this would be the best.
Oh, dude. Just, it'd be so fantastic. Because, like, we got games like that. We got Wipeout. We have F-Zero. But, like, this weird, bombastic, cartoony mess, it'd be fantastic.
It would be like Twisted Metal meets Mario Kart.
Oh, definitely. With just the right amount of like 50s rockabilly and Deep Shadows.
Yeah. I'd be so down for that. But Chris, are you down to find out what we're going to be talking about next week?
I can't say no because we have to do a podcast next week.
We don't have to. You could say I'm sick. I can't do it. I've got a family thing.
I mean, next week is Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I meant to ask about that before we recorded. Or like, my family doesn't give much of a shit about holidays, so I'll probably be good. But I don't want to assume.
Probably not. My mom likes to do it up. We could do it Friday. That could be a thing.
It could indeed.
Or whatever day, like the day after Thanksgiving, whatever that might be.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways,
this is gonna be so weird because this is coming out weeks after Thanksgiving.
This will probably be like last week of December, first week of January. Anyways, we're gonna talk about My Hero Academia.
Oh, sweet! The first volume. That's it.
Yeah.
So not the complete first season, just up to where the first volume ends, and I'll tell you how many episodes that is, or you can read the manga.
Excellent. I'm gonna finally dip my toes into that shit. That's one of those things I've been hemming and hawing on forever. So I'm actually kind of excited about that. That's
bangarang.
That is hashtag good shit. But Chris, why don't you tell me about the hashtag good shit you've been up to this week?
All right. What are we doing first? Or am I just, because I've been living life more, just reading off my entire list and you're reacting to it?
Let's just do the same thing as last week where we just did kind of a casual thing. I think we'll just keep up with that for a little bit until it stops working.
Okay. Let's see. I didn't listen to a ton of music, but I did listen to a good couple tracks. I listened to Starset, Other Worlds Than These. Starset's kind of like a weird electronic-y, proggy medley band. like they aren't so hard prog. They're like it's hard to describe. They're good. I dig them. I listened to Ninja Sex Party's cover of Sledgehammer.
I really need to get into Ninja Sex Party.
And then I just recently today, like right before the podcast, I listened to 100 Gex 800 Decibel Cloud, which is like a noise punk electronica band, and they were on Adult Swim's. Like they have a thing where they fucking put bands on a green screen and they put like an aquarium around them, and they call it Fish Center.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was good. You probably wouldn't like it. But that's all I kind of listened to.
Okay.
The Sledgehammer one was really good. Like, they did a really good job with the horns. Let's see. I read Immortal Hulk. What the fuck is wrong with my tongue?
I am Hulk. Hulk smash.
Hulk smash. No, he's just Danish. Hulk smash.
Sounds like a what if.
I read Immortal Hulk number 27, where he basically goes into Exxon and starts deleting their servers and disconnecting all the social networks that they own in the Marvel Universe. So basically the equivalents of Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. And
oh no, did he delete Pixstagram from Miss Marvel?
Who knows? Might be. But also like release all the data that they've been capturing from people. Because also the CEO of Roxxon right now is a literal monster minotaur dude who sold out humanity to the elves in that last crossover event. So like real evil dude, and the Hulk is just doing his shit, and it's dope. Let's see. I read He-Man, the Master of the Multiverse, issue number 1.
Is that a Grant Morrison thing? That really sounds like it would be a Grant Morrison thing.
Nope. It's basically He-Man, but shattered grid, shattered glass, with hints of infinity on Infinite Earths.
I didn't even know He-Man had enough shit going on to do something like that.
Well, basically, so far in issue 1, the story is in the one universe where Skeletor is good and He-Man is evil, things are going down, and then Dolph Lundgren He-Man from the movie comes in, because remember, in the movie, he has an interdimensional key.
Oh, I don't... We'll talk about this more later, but I do not know that much about He-Man.
He-Man, he's like Conan, but with sci-fi.
Yeah, basically.
That's all you really need to know. And he comes to the Skeletor dude and goes like, all right, shit's going down. Your evil He-Man is killing a bunch of other He-Men, and we need to deal with this. And the Skeletor dude goes like, you know what? You're right. I need to help you guys, even though I'm Skeletor and you're all He-Men. And the issue ends with them and the new adventures of He-Man in space. So, like, technically there's, like, the OG He-Man cartoon, the New Adventures He-Man cartoon, She-Ra, technically.
Dolph Lundgren He-Man,
early 2000s reboot He-Man, which is good.
And they just announced there's going to be a new Netflix He-Man.
The current Netflix She-Ra, which
you know what would be fucking dope? If they debuted his design in that comic. If they did like a 12th Doctor and the 50th anniversary special thing.
That might be interesting, especially because like this is being published by DC. It'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see, but it's really cool. I have the first volume of the He-Man DVD disc set. So I'm not a biggest He-Man fan because I didn't grow up with everything, but like He-Man's cool. I dig it. I I read issues 1 and 2 of Spider-Verse 2019, which is basically we're just going to throw Miles Morales to a bunch of weird alternate Spider people universes for fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Like he teams up with Spider-Punk for a couple pages. And it was kind of cool because also Spider-Punk is also black.
Has he seen the internet's favorite Spider-Man yet?
No, but he did run into manga Spider-Man.
All right, that's good.
Yeah. And then in the second issue, he teamed up with Spider-Man, which is Aunt May being a spider person.
That's great.
And what's even better is basically an evil Aunt May, an evil Uncle Ben, and an evil Peter Parker come into their dimension to fight and kill them.
Sure.
And that Aunt May is in Carnage. But Miles shows up, and it's like, oh, sweet, he can help. And they figure out how to save the day. And at the end, basically, he gets like a pie from Spider-Man, that Aunt May, and every other Aunt May who helped in this weird interdimensional plot hole thing basically sends an anonymous pie to their universe's Miles Morales.
Wonderful.
Because Aunt May is wholesome.
Yeah.
And I read Morbius, the Living Vampire, the current new run, issue number 1, and ooh boy, I love me the spooky Marvel boys.
Really? I did not know you had any interest in Morbius.
I just like the general spooky Marvel dudes, like Ghost Rider I love, Blade I love.
Have you read the old, like, not Vault of Horror, it's something of horror. They just reprinted it in a big trade.
Nah, man, nah.
The original Marvel horror comics. You should check that shit out.
I'm glad that Marvel's realizing, hey, since we are being bankrolled by fucking Disney, maybe we can just be weird with our comics now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting like, they're like, I didn't read it, but like, there's an Old Man Star-Lord comic now.
Yeah, well, they're doing Old Man everybody. We got Old Man Hawkeye. They're doing Old Man Star. Old Man Miles Morales is supposed to be coming sometime next year.
No, I wouldn't be upset at that.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
I mean, we technically got Old Man Peter Parker this year in the form of Spider-Man Life Story.
Yeah, but like, I would love to see, like, they had a short run of it. I would love to see it come back with a writer who was really interested in it. Basically, remember when they had the whole Monsters Unleashed where they brought back all the Kirby monsters and then just had a giant kaiju fight in the comics?
Yeah, you told me about that.
It's fucking fantastic. And they had a new character called Kid Kaiju who can make kaiju. And I would just love to see like an Ultraman and Marvel Universe starring him.
Ooh.
That'd be really cool. But that's the comics I read. And I'm really, like, I'm glad that Marvel's on their game right now. It feels like they're good. They're on their game. Especially the weirder shit.
Nice.
I watched Slam Dunk episode 6.
That's one of the basketball animes, right?
Like OG basketball anime. Like,
okay.
It was like the second basketball manga published in Japan.
All right, I'm sorry. It's hard to keep them all straight because there's like a fucking billion of them in the last couple of years.
Yeah. This is old school one. Main character has a red pompadour, kind of like Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho. In fact, it was part of like that big 3 Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, Slam Dunk in the early 90s Shonen Jump.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was like the original big 3.
That was the big 3 before we called it the big 3.
Yep. Gridman episode 2.
Baby damn.
Baby damn. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So weird. I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw. I was just clicking around on YouTube while I was waiting for you to show up to record the podcast, and that theme showed up in my suggestions, and I was like, I've only seen like the first 4 episodes of Gridman, but that theme fucking rocks. I want to listen to the full version.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
So good.
Like, just so much about Gridman's great. Like, last time we talked about just the aesthetic of the the scale world inside of the computer, and it's just like that's what I want to make in Blender for my videos.
Yeah.
Just weird shit like that. But again, episodic. Like no big things for the story, but like Gridman went like, "Hey, by the way, here's the exposition of why I need your help." All right, Gridman, will help.
Yeah. Access Flash.
Yep. Push
Such
the blue button.
Such a cool little henshin phrase.
And then I also watched Dead Leaves.
Explain to me what Dead Leaves is.
Okay. Imagine all the craziness of Redline, which we just watched, and it's about an hour and a half movie. Put all that craziness at about 10 gallons of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and put that in 40 minutes.
Wow, the Boingo Core charts are off the scale.
No. Let's add another bit of weird absurdist bullshit, because one of the main female character called Pandy, they don't really have names, they just go by looks because they have amnesia, gets pregnant by the male character. She goes full term, gives birth to the baby grows up and grows old in the span of like 10 minutes.
So it's a Star Trek episode.
It's very fucking weird. And it's the main male character has a TV for a head. So definitely Boingo Core shit.
Yeah.
Like, put a CRT for a head and you got me hooked. Like, oh man. It's good, and that's the thing I put on the list. So one day I will subject you to that.
Wonderful.
He
said in Total Dread.
Oh, come on, it wasn't that bad. There's a dude with a drill dick. No, there's actually two things that I put on the list that have drill dicks.
Well, you know, some things in life you got. I don't know where I'm going with that. Just keep going.
Sometimes you just got to drill, man.
Yeah.
No, but Dead Leaves.
You got to. I got it. Pierce the heavens.
You got it.
Hey.
Come on. Get it? Because they're drill dicks.
And Gurren Lagann exists.
Oh, man. But no, Dead Leaves, one of the main characters have a drill dick. And I also put a Japanese horror movie called Tetsuo the Iron Man, and he has a drill dick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of games and things I played with, I continue playing the Gundam game. It's good. I've been
You're fucking addicted to that shit, man. Like, I never thought somebody in my actual life would get addicted to a mobile game, but here we are.
I never am going to spend money on this because I get so many parts without spending money. It's like, why should I bother? I have more fun getting the cheap parts and building them up myself rather than spending like so much money to just get the nice parts already. Like, I'd rather work for it. It's fun that way. And I don't know, like, I got a couple things, but it was more of like, I'll be quick about it so we don't go into a tirade or a rant on my part. But I basically sent in a request to the Bernie campaign because they were saying, hey, send us a thing and we'll give you a free sticker. And I was like, I like that sticker. I want a free sticker. So I sent it and forgot about it. And I was like, maybe things got to the point where they couldn't do it anymore. Whatever. It's okay. But today I got the sticker.
Yay!
Not just the sticker, which is if people have paid attention to his branding and everything, the not me, us sticker. I also got like a pretty standard generic bumper sticker, boy.
Cool.
So when I get my car, my plan is I'm gonna put these guys on magnets, like craft myself like some Bernie magnets. So while I'm in my redneck little town and I go into a store, I can just take the Bernie sticker with me, so no one will deface my car.
That's pretty crafty there, you little rebel.
Yeah,
you little rabble rouser.
And that's about as far political endorsey kind of thing I would like to go with this podcast because it's not really the place for here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I listened to What the Fuck at Transformer World because I enjoy saying the full title. Episodes 573 and 574, catching up. I normally wouldn't talk too much about other podcasts on here, but 573 was just Vangelis sitting down with a woman who used to be a co-host on Transmissions, and just talking about like what it's like, what her perspective as being a mom who is a Transformers fan is like, and it was really interesting.
That's cool.
Like, she talked about she has 3 kids, one of which is like an older teenager. I can't remember what she said all their ages. I can't remember what she said that kid's age was, but she has that kid, she has a 12-year-old, and she has a 5-year-old, and the older teenager and the 12-year-old are both like pretty much done with Transformers, or at least they act like it, which was a bit upsetting. But then she said like they'll also still sit down and watch Rescue Bots Academy with their little brother on Netflix, which was like wholesome. However, the 5-year-old fucking loves Transformers, and Bumblebee is his favorite thing ever.
That's adorable.
To the point where whenever he sees a yellow car, not just a Camaro or a Bug, but any yellow car, he'll freak out and go, "It's Bumblebee!" And I was like, that's great.
That's the best. Probably not great on a mom's nerves driving while only having 3 hours of sleep, but great.
Mm-hmm. Also, they talked a little bit about the current comics because they hadn't brought that up on the podcast yet. And you know how there was a whole murder mystery thing, and what's his face, the bot Bumblebee was taking care of, gets killed?
Yeah.
Vangelis thought he was the murderer.
Weird.
Yeah, I spent like an hour after listening to that going like, how could you possibly, what? Huh?
I mean, I can get it. It's a new character. We don't know who they are. I can get the mentality of like, I'm a storyteller kind of person. This is what I would do. Like, I can get that, but like,
yeah, there's no way he could have possibly been the one to kill Brainstorm. So
that's like saying Robin would be the murderer in a Batman mystery. It's like, no, yeah. Robin's always on his right side, so no.
This is it's not a little observation that I thought I'd give an observation on. Anyways,
but Vangelis is also just a silly man in general.
He is. We love you, Vangelis. He is a wonderfully silly and kind of scary man.
No. His subtitles are scary. He's not.
Well, have you seen the VChats? Anyways, listen to the Batman 1989 soundtrack. Which I picked up physically a few weeks ago and only just now got to. Holy crap, why has nobody actually made me listen to Prince music before?
Because you're an American citizen. That should be part of your standard curriculum in like kindergarten.
Like, I've heard snippets of 1989, Let's Go Crazy, and Doves Cry in stuff before, but I've never actually sat down and listened to a full Prince song before. And I was blown away because I was like, this is just constantly good Michael Jackson.
With like an accurate fuck tempo.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a weird thing about Michael Jackson. Really good music. Really chaste.
Yeah, it's...
Michael Jackson ain't fucking music. Prince is fucking music.
Mm-hmm. But everybody talks about this album and it's just like, yeah, Bat Dance is kind of a cheesy, fun video. The rest of the songs are almost not worth mentioning. Like, it's kind of a phoned-in soundtrack. I'm like, if this is Prince phoning it in, I need to go listen to everything he's ever done because this is great.
Yeah, Prince is great.
I fucking love Party Man. That's a song I can see myself listening to on and off for years.
Prince is great, man. Little Red Corvette. I can't remember what's the one. All I Need Is Your Kiss. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I threw a ton of his shit in my Watch Later playlist, so I'll be talking about him more in the future. But that's everything I listened to. Still doing the JT Mitchell 87 rewatch. Probably still going to be doing that for a good while because he's got a lot of shit. Was in the chat for a stream of his that he did last Friday and had a pretty good time, even though the whole thing was prefaced with "This is me giving my statement on Copa." Caught up on SF Debris's content because since he doesn't really upload to YouTube anymore, he's one of those guys who I just kind of check in on every once in a while. He reviewed the pilot for the Orville, and it was really interesting getting his perspective. He was like, his whole review is basically just him going, "This is neat, but it's really weird, and it's also really obvious what's going on here." And I'm like, yeah, but isn't it neat?
But it's basically Seth giving his resume for Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's just him going like, "Hey, look, guys, I can make Star Trek. If you want me to do Star Trek, I can do Star Trek."
Mm-hmm. Like, SF Debris called it the highest budget fan film of all time.
That's fucking accurate.
Mm-hmm. Also, he did in like 4 episode chunks. He reviewed the entire first season of Gravity Falls, and that was pretty good. Not as good as our review though. And then I watched, as I alluded to earlier, I watched the opening 3-parter for the 2002 He-Man series because, little fun fact for you, I've never seen any He-Man. I know things about He-Man. I've watched a lot of reviews for He-Man toys. I've watched a couple documentaries on how they came up with He-Man. Never actually watched any of the He-Man content. So I was like, there's going to be a Netflix one. But I'm not particularly interested in that at the moment. And it's probably not going to be out for a while. But I kind of want to check out He-Man. Let's see what the 2002 show is like, because people always tell me like that's one of the best reboots of an 80s franchise ever. And I'm going to preface this with, I'm not bashing it, but it was not for me.
I can understand. It's very pulpy 50 sci-fi kind of thing through an 80s lens.
Like, now that you say that, I totally can see it, but I was just watching it going, okay, I understand this is how things that are made as toys first work, but this really feels like just a bunch of kids throwing shit together.
Oh yeah. Like,
also,
it's very John Carter, but in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know if it gets better in the later episodes, but I hated the color palette in the first 3 episodes.
Oh yeah, no.
It was really yellow.
Like, it was a good reboot for the time. I definitely feel like a current reboot would do better. But it also it kind of parallels with the Thundercats reboot they did in the 2010s.
Yeah, and I did really like that reboot, even though it had a ton of problems.
Yeah, but it's that kind of like, I consider those like parallels.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're okay, they're good. They should have been given more time to like breathe and be their own thing.
Like I don't know if this is my full opinion on the He-Man 2002 show because I haven't watched the rest of it and I don't know when I will. But that Thundercats reboot felt like it was them figuring out what Thundercats actually was beyond Thundercats Ho.
Yeah, it was very much like, here's the idea of Thundercats. Okay, what does this actually mean for the world, and what does all this do for us as storytellers? He-Man was pretty much, all right, we're going to do He-Man, but this time we're going to show Skeletor getting his face melted.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Isn't that extreme? Haven't you never seen something that violent in a kid's cartoon? Actually, Batman the Animated Series kind of did that with Two-Face. Shut up, it's cool and new and edgy.
I mean, yeah, but like, it's just kind of like, we're just going to make He-Man for ourselves, and we're just going to make it bigger and badder and more barbarian.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to consistently point out how stupid the secret identity thing is, but still do it anyway.
Yeah, it was very much like a He-Man reboot for the guys making the He-Man reboot who were like 30, going like, oh man, I love He-Man. I just want to do that again.
Mm-hmm. Again, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't entirely to my taste. I did enjoy seeing like a bunch of voice actors I haven't heard in forever again, like fucking Gary Chalk as Man-at-Arms, and I kept going, oh, it's Optimus Prime.
It's an Optimus Prime.
Yeah. Then I watched The Toys That Made Us season 3. I watched the whole thing because it was only 4 episodes. They did Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, and wrestling. Not any specific promotion, but just wrestling figures in general this season. As in any case, a pretty mixed bag. I'd say the My Little Pony episode is probably the most interesting one, just because it like barely brings up friendship is magic. It's so focused on the original toy line, and that was a huge breath of fresh air for me. Ninja Turtles one is all right, but they're like clearly forcing this not storyline, but like this narrative of, oh, Eastman and Laird haven't seen each other in years. They had a bad breakup when Ninja Turtles was going through rough times in the late 90s and early 2000s. And here's them reuniting for the first time in forever. And I'm like, this may be the first time they've physically seen each other in years, but I'm pretty sure they've been speaking to each other for a good while now, considering the fact that they both work on the IDW series.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then I can't remember who, but one of them sold their rights to Ninja Turtles to the other.
Yeah.
Just because he was busy and he didn't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. The Power Rangers episode was all right. I don't dislike it as much as other people seem to, and I'm not going to take up for it because they do quite a few irksome things. Like, it mainly focuses on the early Saban stuff, and when they bring up the Disney era, they pretty much just say, like, oh, they didn't know what to do with it, so they eventually sold it back to Haim. Here's more footage of Haim acting like a smug C-word.
Yeah.
And also, I found it really funny that they said Turbo almost killed the franchise because kids didn't want to buy robots of toys that turned into toys of cars that turned into robots from Power Rangers. If they wanted that, they could just go out and buy a Transformer. And I'm like, did you not check the dates? Transformers was pretty much dead at around that time.
Yeah, they were starting to gear up for Beast Wars.
Mm-hmm. And also they gave the classic Justin excuse, and then the next day on Twitter, Blake Foster tweeted, "Justin saved the franchise," and everybody started making fun of him, which was amazing. And the wrestling episode was okay. It was interesting learning about, like, certain lines that I knew of but didn't really know anything about, but it felt super scatterbrained, and it was weird that there was nobody actually from WWE on it. Like, I kept expecting to see Vince, and Vince never showed up. It was a couple guys.
Or Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah! Why the fuck weren't they on that? It was some random guys from, like, LJN and Jack Pacific. And then Justin Roberts, who is billed as former WWE announcer, because this was clearly filmed like right before AEW was announced. And then Cody shows up for 10 seconds just to talk about how Dusty used to describe the territory system to him. And they don't credit him. They don't tell you who the fuck Cody Rhodes is. It's just, here's this random guy with bleached blonde hair talking about the territory system.
But maybe this is a hint that AEW is getting ready for a toy line.
Please, I'm begging you. Just sign with Hasbro. Just let Hasbro do it. It would be the best thing ever.
Just the Legacy and like Legends bucks just for fucking AEW.
And they strike up a deal with New Japan so that like fucking Super 7 and Hasbro can collaborate on Bullet Club figures.
Oh man, just imagine the accessory packs. Like, you have like a Jungle Express 3-pack with a Babysaurus mask.
You know what I'd really love them to do, and I don't know how feasible this is, but I'd like every wave to be 4 single pack figures, 2 men, 2 women, 1 face, 1 heel each. And then a 2-pack or a free pack of a tag team.
That'd be cool. But like, it'd be also interesting to get like other characters. Like, for the first time in ever, I think AEW could get away with selling referee figures.
Ooh. Because they named their referees. That'd be great. They could give us a Justin Roberts figure.
Like, I would love to see an Audrey Edwards figure.
Mm.
She deserves it.
Oh, dude. Make the refs build a figures.
That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, we could get a Tony Schiavone, we could get a JR, get an Excalibur.
Oh my god. An Excalibur figure and then an accessory pack that's just different heads for him. Because he's gonna, by the time we're like a year into AEW, or a year into Dynamite, because we're almost a year into AEW, he'll have worn like 50 different masks.
Oh man. Just imagine like Sean Spears coming with a chair.
Yeah.
John Moxley. John Moxley, Kenny Omega, Destruction playset.
Oh. Fucking. But enough fantasy booking toy lines. I finally went and watched a little bit of the show about their Universe boy. I watched
the Stevens.
Yeah, I watched the Sturban Universe episodes 1 through 13. Haven't got to any of like the major stuff I've seen people talking about yet. It's mostly just kind of fun slice of life stuff so far. But I am digging it. I am digging it quite a bit. I don't know if it's like gonna hit the upper echelons of my favorites anytime soon, and I also don't know when I'm gonna get back to it. But it was a good little thing to have on in the background while I was editing a YouTube video this week.
Solid.
Mm-hmm. Watched The Disaster Artist, which is an adaptation of a book about the making of The Room. I actually talked about that book quite a few podcasts ago. It's good, but I would not recommend seeing it unless you are a huge fan of The Room and have seen it multiple times, or B, have read that book. Because there's a lot of scenes that are just recreations of moments from the book with very little context. It's mostly just like, here's the most interesting moments from the book put to film with some pretty fun performances. Like, James Franco is really, really good as Johnny Wiseau. And Joe Rogan, or not Joe Rogan, what's his fucking
Seth
name?
Rogen.
Seth Rogen. Yeah, he's in this as like the director of photography for the movie, and some of his reactions to shit are amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I would recommend checking it out if you fit either of those qualifiers I said.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check it out. It's just
yeah. Kamen Rider 01, episode 10. Not much to say except
so you'll say it's Kamen Rider 0110?
Yep. Not really much to say about this episode except Valkyrie's got a secret. Valkyrie's got a secret. She's probably gonna turn heel soon.
Oh, I thought it was either gonna lead she's actually a robot or she has a crush.
No, we did find out some other cast members are actually robots very recently, but I won't reveal who because that would be spoiling it for you.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Don't fucking put that idea in my head. Do you know how bad I want Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kamen Rider? That would be amazing.
I just no. Did you pay attention? I said that blank smash spot, and then my phone does a goddamn hockey horn.
Watched Free to Delete episode 3, which we haven't really talked about that much, but holy crap, is it getting interesting?
Oh man.
Kamen Rider Blade episodes 24 and 25. It's Blade. Kamen Rider Exade, the movie, True Ending, which not really much of an ending, not even really not even really an epilogue. It's just kind of a side story like most Kamen Rider movies are, which I wouldn't be annoyed about if it wasn't for the fact that this is called True Ending.
You gotta market the movie somehow.
Also, the villain plot is a recycling of the villain plot from Heisei versus Showa.
Weird.
Yeah, they like literally it's movie exclusive. New evil Kamen Rider is a dad, and his kid is sick, and he's doing all of this for his kid.
I mean, I can understand using that for the Dr. Kamen Rider.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, yeah.
Watched a bunch of old, and by a bunch, I mean like a fuck ton of old Rock and Roll Express matches, because as you know, I'm going to be meeting them at a convention this weekend, and they really have impressed me on power and at Full Gear in the last couple weeks. So I was like, I should check out some of their stuff. And then that turned into, I should check out all of their stuff.
They're like the old Young Bucks, right?
That's literally what they are.
They're like the Young Bucks of the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Like that's Matt and Nick call them the original Young Bucks. And I was like, oh, that's neat, like kind of high praise. But then I went and watched it and I was like, no, they're literally just doing the kind of shit the Young Bucks are doing now, but back then. I mean, not like exact moves and stuff, but they're doing the kind of progression the Young Bucks are doing now back then.
Yeah, the very, like, flips as psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Which many a wrestling fan says flips can't be psychology. And I say, au contraire, have you watched the Young Bucks match where one of them is hurt and he's trying to get a flip off, but he can't?
Yeah.
Or my favorite trope, which is everybody goes like, oh, it just looks like they're dancing with each other, is when both guys know each other so well that they can flip out of each other's flips while they're flipping. It's basically like, I can read your mind because we have gone up against each other so much, which, by the way, we're going to be recording Macho Media Wrestling Podcast later, plug.
Yeah.
The Rey Fenix, Nick Jackson match. Perfect example of that.
Dude.
Went
on a bit of a tangent with YouTube where I just watched a ton of Tony Hawk videos. Not necessarily like old footage of him skating, but like videos of him going on like the bigger channels that have celebrities on, like GQ and stuff like that, where they have their series. He seems like a really cool guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've never been big into skate culture, but Tony Hawk seems like a guy I'd like to get a burger with.
I loved the Tony Hawk games when I was young, and that's probably the closest to being a skater I've ever been.
And see, like, I've never touched it. I was one of those kids who saw skater kids when I was younger and went like, those guys all look like douchebags. I'm going to stay far the fuck away from that. And then eventually I grew up and went like, oh no, they just have a different attitude about things.
No,
still
like
not interested.
There was one video I watched of Tony Hawk where he was basically explaining difficulties of tricks in like 24 steps of like...
Yeah, I watched that.
It was so interesting to see him go like, here's the logic of why I think this is more difficult than this.
Mm-hmm.
And it go like explaining how a skater would think of a difficult trick of like, oh yeah, no, it's behind me, so I have a harder time seeing.
Mm-hmm. There's a great video of him driving around, which I think is a series. He was driving around LA just yelling at kids, do a kickflip, and if they did it on command, he would give them merch.
That's kind of great.
Yeah, and he was like so impressed. He's like, there's fucking 12-year-olds out here who can do a kickflip on a dime. When I was 12, that would have been impossible. I can't believe how far things have progressed. And then there was also a great video of him doing the like 70-something questions and walking around his house. And like, his house is like, he's a rich guy, but he's not a rich guy who doesn't give a fuck about his money kind of rich. Like, he doesn't have a Will Smith house.
Yeah, no. Low-key, fuck Will Smith's house.
Yeah, more like fuck Will Smith's compound.
Yeah, like, to a level I can understand, yeah, having a nice house, but like, have you seen the inside of that?
It's pretty insane.
it's from a pure architectural standpoint, it's beautiful. But like, fuck, it is 4 people living there at any given time, and it's like, no.
Yeah, that's the kind of house you can get lost in. Unlike Tony Hawk, who is like, yeah, I've got a pretty nice big house with some cool open rooms, but also come outside. Look, I've got a pool and a skate park.
Yeah, that's the one, like, yeah, that just feels so much like, oh man, your inner child dreamt of this day, and you got that, Tony Hawk. Good on you.
Mm-hmm. And then I caught up on the Jim Jefferies show because I found out that ended recently.
Weird.
And I was like, oh, I like Jim Jefferies. His comedy is really good, in my opinion. And I watched a little bit of the show when it started, and I felt like, oh, this is good. I don't know if I'll watch this regularly, but it's good. And so I was like, I'm just going to watch as much of this as I can that's available on YouTube. And like, pretty solid stuff. I mean, some of it can get like, I don't know about that stance, Jim. That's a little debatable, but overall, good stuff. And then I read the rest of that Prez trade. So I finished issue 5. I think it went to 5 issues and then got canceled. And then, to my surprise and delight, there was an issue of Supergirl that he guest starred in. And then the character like disappeared for like 15 years until he showed up in Neil Gaiman's fucking Sandman. First time I've ever read an issue of Sandman. It was in the fucking Prez trade.
Oh my god.
And then he had a Vertigo one-off, which wasn't even about him. It was about a kid that grew up being told that he was Prez's love child, and that the mom never told Prez because she didn't want to ruin his chances at actually becoming president. And then he finds out through some very Animal Man-esque kind of spirit journey shit. He finds out, like, no, I'm not Prez's actual kid. It's just my mom was molested and she didn't want me to know how bad my actual origins are. But also, I'm Prez's kid ideologically. I'm a very similar person to him, so I'm just going to try and carry his spirit, which is kind of cool. And then the last page is an excerpt from Multiversity, which states that Prez, after being done as president, went on to be the leader of that universe's Justice League, which is the universe that Sunshine Superman and the Green Lantern with the tune in, tune out shirt is from.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's something like pictured Sunshine Superman, these other characters, Justice League of Earth, whatever the fuck, led by the immortal teenage president Prez. All is groovy.
Oh god, that is the most 70s DC thing I have ever heard.
Yeah. Got back on Pokemon Emerald and Transformers War for Cybertron. Didn't make too much progress, but I got some stuff done. It's nice. I'm trying to finish all the games that I have open. I have and are unfinished at the moment because I'm giving some very serious thought to purchasing a Nintendo Switch during the holiday season.
All right.
Like the job I have now will be giving me paychecks that are big enough that I could actually afford to get a Switch without saving up and without taking a huge hit to my spending money. So if I see a store have them for below $250, I'll probably jump on it. So just trying to wrap up War for Cybertron and Emerald, and may happen, may not before I can get a hold of a Switch, but we're doing it. We're doing stuff. We're playing things. And also in the same vein of game stuff, because I picked this up at GameStop because it's a GameStop exclusive. I got Power Rangers Lightning Collection Goldar.
Is it good?
He's pretty good. I mean, like, his articulation is pretty limited compared to the others. Like, this and Beast Morphers Red were people told me like these are the two worst figures of the line. And like Goldar ain't great, but for a figure of Goldar, he's amazing because most figures of Goldar have had like next to no articulation. And this thing, the articulation is kind of limited compared to the other Legacy figures, but it's still really good. And like he has wings that are removable. Like he comes packaged with them detached in the box, and you can kind of like plug them in so that they're stuck really good in there, but they also have like a detent so you can soft plug them in and just pop them out whenever you want, because there was, I believe, a plot line in season 2 where like he failed Zed one too many times and Zed took away his wings for a few episodes. And like I know a lot of people complain that like he's not actually really shiny and gold, but the paint on him is really nice in texture. Like there's different hues of gold to him. And I went and looked at some pictures of the actual suit, and he's not like a shiny gold. He's like kind of a dull yellowish gold. So I think this figure matches up pretty well. And also the face sculpt is fantastic. So yeah, really good. Another great hit for the Lightning Collection. Like it's not a Zed or a flippin' Mighty Morphin Armored Black.
Or Doggy Kruger.
It's honestly, I'd say he's about on par with Doggy Kruger. Because I like Doggy Kruger because of the character factor, but Doggy Kruger isn't like a great figure. He's a pretty good figure.
Alrighty.
Yeah. And that is just about everything I did this week. So that'll bring us to the end of the podcast. Chris, what is the episode about you doing?
My cord got caught.
Narc.
Boingo Riders, hot new radical stuff on, you can find it around on YouTube. Anime, tokusatsu, comics, movies. If it exists, I'll like it, I'll talk about it. Corporate... You
don't have the script open, do you?
No, fuck it. I don't care. I'm going to rewrite it anyway because I don't like how it turned out. I make video editorials about bullshit. You can find it on YouTube, Boingo Rider. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Boingo_Rider. And you can find me on Discord. The link to my server is in the description. Yeah. Weird 90s kind of cyberpunky, vaporwavy kind of vibe.
Yeah, I am The Vacuuminator, and you can find me at youtube.com/TheVacuuminator. I'm a toy boy, a 2000s toy boy, stuck in an 80s world. I like Transformers, but I don't like that Transformers. I like fucking Marvel Legends, but I don't like those Marvel Legends. I like Power Rangers, but I don't like those Power Rangers. I'm that kind of a weird kid, and I talk about those things. I might not be able to talk about those things for too much longer because YouTube is enacting serious policy changes that could affect the ways I make my videos. But for now, I talk about those things. And you can watch me talk about those things at youtube.com/TheVacuuminator. You can also follow me on social media at The Vacuuminator on Instagram and Twitter. And hey, you can listen to this podcast, which presumably you have been doing for like 2 hours now. I don't know why you're listening to the end roll if you didn't listen to the whole rest of the podcast. You're weird. You're being weird right now. But keep being weird. Subscribe to Modular Media so you can get every episode of the podcast as it comes out. Ring the bell, like, comment, subscribe. Download the MP3s from the video description Google Drive folder so you can listen to it on the go. Follow us on Twitter at The Modular Media for updates, and subscribe to our subreddit, r/Modular Media. And that's pretty much it for this episode. So we will see you next time when we will be discussing the first volume / first anime equivalent of the first volume. I'm not really sure how this is going to work, but I'm sure Chris will make it work. That's my alarm. It's time to go to bed. Of My Hero Academia, everybody. Okay, bye!